This is the No Swear Gamer from YouTube and the Atari 7800 Game by Game podcast, and you are listening to the podcasting pride of the Smoky Mountains, the Two Dudes in a Nest, with your hosts, Dude Michael and Dude Justin.
Hey, Justin.
What's up, man?
I hope you like that music we played on the way in.
Oh, it's just like I'm going to hear it in my dreams.
Well, yeah, see, 2 weeks in a row, and we have guests to blame for both of them. By the way, welcome, Stu, to the podcast.
Hello.
All right, go ahead, Justin.
Thanks for having me here, guys.
Did you say 2 weeks in a row?
I'm sorry. That's right. We don't do weekly. My bad. 2 episodes in a row. We have guests to thank for NES games with really one song in them. So, yeah, that's great.
Yep. Well, that's technically more than one. And
I'm glad you said thank.
Yeah.
Glad you said thank for instead of blame for this time.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to turn over a new leaf, be a little nicer, you know. Tonight, We're talking about Back to the Future on the NES. And we figured who better to bring on for Back to the Future than Stu, who's an expert at Back to the Future. So.
All right. Glad to have you on, Stu.
Thanks. I'm really glad to be here and honored to be on your show. I really like, this 8-bit era is they couldn't rely on just graphics to sell games. They actually had to make games that were good and fun to play. And I love your show. Listening to all these different games, and Back to the Future is my favorite of all of them.
All right,
nice. I appreciate the kind words. Always good to, as a guest, to come on and just start off just tooting our horn. You know. That's what it sounds like to toot when we toot our horn. Yeah, sorry about that.
Speaking of sound effects, I think I heard Garth Brooks is going to be on tour here pretty soon.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Sorry, I minimized my sound. Womp womp. I messed that one up.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I need to add to the soundboard. If somebody could find me the Price is Right thing, that's probably copyrighted, so never mind. But for that moment, I could have done that noise, you know. Boop boop.
Speaking of old game shows, I've been watching some Supermarket Sweep here lately.
Nice.
That is just it's funny because like the game shows back then, it's like you can clearly tell they told the contestants like really play it up, right? Just like we need you just like clapping and just like really just we really need you to be over the top here.
Ham it up, people. Ham it up.
As disingenuous as possible, please.
I always, as a kid, I wanted to be on Supermarket Sweep so bad, and I would go to the grocery store, with mom or whatever, and I would be like, "Come on, I can do this. Just let me have the list. You can time me, and I'll go as fast as I can. Yeah. I'll get all the stuff." I kind of still do that too, I guess, when I go to the grocery store. Every now and then I'll tell my wife, I'll be like, "Okay, I'm getting in the car. Start the stopwatch, and let's see how fast I can do this."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody likes to talk about how fast I'm in and out of a grocery store too, and I think that Supermarket Sweep just primed us for it.
Oh, you're right.
Now, what would be the ultimate is if our wives would make us grocery lists that didn't tell us the items, but riddles to try to figure the item out, because that's how the game's played.
Yeah, and right before I leave the house, she's making out the list. I go put on my sweatshirt with
over
like my name on it,
shirt.
Over some kind of collared shirt. Yeah. Amber looks over. She's like, "You're going to the grocery store?" "Yep, I'm going to the grocery store."
Yeah.
All right. We should probably start talking about this game. What do you think?
Yeah,
Justin, do you have any historical tidbits or trivia?
Now it's time for Justin's historical tidbits and trivia. Time to get out your D-pad notepads because you're about to get schooled by the doctor.
All right. Not only do I have some historical tidbits and trivia, I have a quiz game.
Oh no, I'm gonna get my butt whooped tonight. Unless
All right.
maybe there's some off-topic questions. Hopefully, that's all I'm gonna hope for.
There might be a few off-topic questions. All right. So the rules, Stu, in case you're just kind of refresher, and for everybody listening, there will be 5 questions. Each question has 4 multiple choice answers. You can buzz in by saying your name at any time if you think you know the answer. Once you buzz in, you don't hear the rest of the answers if you buzz in before all the answers have been read. All right, y'all ready?
Ready.
Yep. All right, here we go. Question number 1. This game features one song for the most part, but it does feature a song from the movie. Which of the following songs from the movie are in this game? Is it A, Johnny Be Good, B, Tequila, C, Shout, or D, I Want to Hold Your Hand?
Stu. A, Johnny Be Good.
It is Johnny Be Good. There's so I'm sure Stu knew this, but there's a little side game later on where you play the guitar and he's playing Johnny Be Good. So, and that's in the movie. Same as the movie.
Or at least the best 8-bit rendition of Johnny Be Good.
Yeah. We can talk about that later. I don't know how close it is to Johnny Be Good, but it's in spirit Johnny Be Good.
Okay. All right.
All right. So this game was obviously published and released by LJN, but this game was developed by a company called Beam. Where is Beam, or where was Beam stationed?
Can you spell Beam for me real quick?
BEAM.
Okay, thank you.
Laser beams.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where were they stationed? Would it be A, Australia, B, Japan, C, South Korea, or D, the United States?
Mike. South Korea.
Nope.
Boo.
Stu.
All right, Stu.
I'll guess United States.
Not the United States. All right,
Mike.
It goes back to Mike.
Australia.
It is Australia.
Yes.
Yep. If you would, yeah. So Beam, which was later bought by a different company, was actually originated in Australia. Their first game they ever created, The Hobbit.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Not for the NES, though, right? Or was it? No, I didn't think there was.
No, it wasn't. No.
What was that, for the Commodore 64?
It was for the Commodore 64.
No bonus points, Stu. No bonus points.
All right, it's tied 1-1. Now, this is the only question that doesn't involve anything to do with the game. John Delorean, the creator of the Delorean Motor Company and the Delorean vehicle that's seen in this movie and in this game, also worked for what motor vehicle company? Was it A, Ford, B, Chrysler, C, GM, or D, Toyota?
Mike. Chrysler.
Not Chrysler.
Stu. GM.
It was GM.
That was going to be my second guess, I swear.
Stu's up 2-1. Stu can take the commanding and definitive lead at this next question. This game had a sequel, and really a third game, if you say that the next game was Back to the Future 2 and 3 combined in one game. Who was involved with the development of this game we're talking about tonight, and also involved in the development of the sequel? Was it the composer, Gavin Anderson, the producer, Andrew Davey, one of the developers, Russell Conte, or D, one of the developers, Trevor Nureddin?
I don't know. Mike.
Guess.
I'll go with C.
It's not C.
Do I have to guess?
Yep, you're up.
Okay,
A, B, or D?
I'll guess B.
It's not B.
A?
It's not A.
Oh gosh.
So Trevor Nureddin was one of the developers of this game, who actually went on to be one of the only from the first to develop the sequel.
That was going to be my third guess, I swear.
So still 2-1.
Okay.
And we're going into the last question. Who involved with the movie said this was the worst video game ever?
Stu.
Is it Stu?
Bob Gale.
Bob Gale. That's right.
Oh,
so Stu wins
okay.
with that one. So Bob Gale, one of the writers for Back to the Future, said this was the worst video game ever, but there may have been some sour grapes because they apparently took it to Bob Gale before it was released, and he had a lot of suggestions for things that need to be changed, and they basically said, nope, it's too late. We're already producing it, and then he went out and said, this is the worst game I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, so Stu takes Mike down. Congratulations, Stu.
Thanks.
All right, Mike.
Bragging rights for you, sir. But that's all you get because we got nothing else.
Do you have a story about maybe time travel or something to go get this game?
Don't spoil the beans, dude. Hold on. Time out.
Now it's time for the thrill of 8-bit discovery with Michael's quest to find the cart.
Well, even though Justin tried to ruin my story, because I must have told it to him years ago or something, you know. So I was driving down the road one day. Probably, what was it, Justin? I told you the story like 7-8 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, probably was. And I was going pretty fast. All of a sudden, lightning struck my truck, and I was transported back to the 50s. Yeah, I think it was the 50s. Yeah,
1955. I think that was the year 1955.
Yeah, that's when it was. It was 1955. And once I got there, you know, I went to the soda shop, the drugstore, or whatever, you know, and they said, you can leave 1955 if you want, and we'll even give you this Nintendo game to take back with you, because, you know, those existed in 1955. All you got to do is just give everybody that comes to the counter here their soda and or ice cream. And I was like, that's not a problem, right? So I went ahead and started doing that, except for the problem was once they started coming, all of a sudden my vision got all blurry. I couldn't really see which direction they were coming from. So I was just throwing all these sodas at them, totally missing every single one of them. And I guess somebody felt bad for me, and so they just threw me out the door, and I landed back in modern times, but without the cart. So then I had to go buy it. Yeah. Wow, that was bad.
Right.
That was terrible.
It reminded me of the story, though. Well, it's a joke. Have you ever heard of the comedian Nate Bargatze? He's really funny, and I was watching one of his like little bits, and he was talking about like if he went back to the future, or if he time traveled to the past, like nobody would even believe him. Like he would be like, you know, he'd see like if he traveled back to 1920 and saw somebody using an old timey phone, he'd be like, you know, one day you're gonna have a phone that you can just carry around in your pocket and call people, and they'll be like, oh yeah, well how does that work? And he'd be like, I don't know. And then he said they would be like, well, you know, who's going to be the next president? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, they wouldn't even believe I was from the future.
Yeah, that would be me for sure. I'd be clueless. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, truthfully, I never owned this game, and partly because of something we'll get into later, but I did rent this as a kid and hated it. So, and it always stuck in my mind, like, do not ever buy this
Bury
game,
the
Michael.
lead there, why don't you?
Yeah. I didn't say I still hate it. I said I hated it when I rented it as a child.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Don't worry. May or may not have been a spoiler. It is a spoiler, by the way. But yeah, that's so. I never have owned this game, but I'm guessing one of you guys probably has a story about getting this game or having this game.
Stu, what's your story about getting this game?
Well, it was a bit of an accident how I got this game, but for Christmas in 1989, I got two wireless NES controllers. I think they were Acclaim brand, and I was really excited about getting these controllers for Christmas, but I didn't understand how they worked with the infrared light. Do you remember those controllers back then?
Yep,
You'd have to point to them.
I think I had some of those. Were they black? Kind of look like Sega Genesis controllers. As terrible as that is to say.
Yeah, maybe. They might have had some blue in them. I can't. But I didn't realize you had to point them at the sensor that you plugged into the. I just thought they were broken whenever they lose that signal if you'd move them, and so I took them back and got Back to the Future instead, and loved it ever since. And we played it. I've got two older sisters, and we played it a lot. They liked the game. For my whole childhood, I didn't even realize it was a bad game. I thought it was great, and then when the internet rolls around and you find out it's basically the worst game of all time, that was quite a shock and surprise to me, because it's always been my favorite, and it's always the one I go back to. When I get the Nintendo out of the closet and get an itch to play the games, it's the first one I grab, because it's just it's easy to start playing. I think it's an approachable game too. You can just pick it up and start playing. And maybe that's why I like it so much, because it's not like Zelda where you have to dedicate like a month to it if you want to play it. You can play it for 5 minutes or for 40 minutes or whatever you want to. So
we will argue that out here in a minute.
I was going to say, I have a similar story. I guess Mike can kind of empathize with this too, because, another LJN game that I loved as a kid and thought was a great game, which was Jaws. I loved playing that game. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, this game's supposed to suck.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Totally different perspective sometimes when you own a game as a kid, and then like you just have a totally different perspective because you have to play it. It's not like you have a choice whether or not you can play it. You just play it, and then you eventually, it's like Stockholm syndrome, So, not saying that that's what you've got here, Stu. I'm just, I'm not making any diagnoses, But all right. So, real quick, is this the controller you had? It's blue. You're right, very blue. But that's the one I had when I was a kid. Are you seeing the picture?
No, I don't see it.
Never mind. But so it's very blue. The Acclaim double player. That's what I had when I was a kid. So I thought I was sharing my screen. Guess I'm not. Moving on.
I saw, something popped up, but I wasn't able to see it. So
no worries. All right, you guys
I think it had toggle buttons for turbo, for like a toggle button for the A and a toggle button for the B that would turn the turbo on and off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but they don't really work. Mine never worked. So just like you said, you have to point it to the perfect spot. Cool idea, not necessarily cool execution.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys about ready to talk about this game? Let's do it. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back to talk about the game.
I'm Tom Arnold, and I'm impressed that you're listening to Two Dudes and an S.
Time to dig into some good old-fashioned game discussion.
All right. Good old-fashioned game discussion. I don't know. It's from the game. It's the I believe they call it the out of time noise.
No.
It's when you're out of time. So
what about
when you cease to exist?
Yeah. In the mirror, yeah, or not the mirror, the picture vanish. Yeah. Just to take us off on a side note, just right off the bat. Cool. Did you guys like the movie Back to the Future?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. When I was,
I never really watched it that much as a kid. I don't think I don't think I've seen it since probably. But it's like almost 40 years old. Wow. It's like as old as we are, right? It came out in 85.
Right. Yeah. Thanks you for dating me, Justin.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a reason I knew the Bob Gale trivia question. It's because it happens to also be my favorite movie. So.
Oh, boy,
okay. Yeah.
And I did see it in the theater. It's one of my earliest memories of going to a movie, but I remember seeing it with my cousins.
That's cool.
Nice. I was just gonna say, I don't think I've seen it probably since like when I was a kid. When I was like probably like 1990, really? I would say. Yeah, I've not seen it as an adult. I've not watched it as an adult.
You should go back and watch it. I think even if you didn't like it as a kid, I think you have a better appreciation for it now. Because I've liked it more. I like it more every time I see it. I don't watch it frequently. I watch it maybe once every, 5 years or something. I may catch it.
Yeah.
But every time I watch it, I like it more. So
I love Christopher Lloyd and just about anything he's in. But so yeah, I need to go back and watch it because that'll be a good one. What's it rated? It's PG or something like that, right?
I think it's PG before PG-13 existed. So I think it may be PG-13 now if it was.
Yeah, it's 1985 PG, so it's got a couple S words in it.
Well, that's all right.
Depending how old the kids are,
Yeah, I think they can handle a couple.
Yeah. Hey, funny story. Speaking of the S word, my son he's 2 years old ish, and he's starting to pick up on words, right? And that just happens to be one that he's picking up on. And,
it's right. Bad. They pick them up. Yeah,
at first I didn't know what it was, and okay, this is not very good for a family-friendly podcast, probably. But at first I didn't know what it was because it doesn't really sound like the S word. Mm-hmm. It sounds like hit, without the S on it. But it was the context in which he was using it was like the same that I would have accidentally used it at times around him, where like he knocks his milk cup, like he'll knock his milk cup over and he'll say it, or he'll drop his whatever, his goldfish into the floor and he'll say it, and I'm like, okay, right. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I've got stories. Yeah, I have all of them repeating something. It's usually like. Actually, not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was repairing a fan in their bedroom and, got a little frustrated. A word flew out and it got repeated immediately.
Yeah. It's like it flew out and bounced off of a rubber or something,
Right.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
I don't know which one of your daughters repeated it, but, my son is too young for me to be like, that's not a good word. So I just kind of have to let it fly,
Right.
But it's funny.
Wait for it to kind of wear off.
Yeah. Maybe I can stop saying it around him,
Right, exactly.
We'll have to get one of those jars or something. Anyways, sorry, that's way off topic. But to follow up, Justin, go back and watch it. It's totally worth it. I kind of want to watch it after playing this game for some reason. But
when his parents kiss at the end. Spoiler alert! When his parents kiss and he stands back, he's like disintegrating, and then he comes back to life. I don't know. It's probably my favorite scene in any movie. It gives me a little tear in my eye, and every time I watch it.
No. Yeah. See, I don't even know what you're talking about because I haven't seen it in so long.
Man, you're going to get in trouble with all the nerds out there. I mean, this is kind of I know it's a popular movie, but it's kind of a nerd movie too. No offense, Stu. I love it too, but because of the time travel and stuff, you know.
Right.
It's got a really neat. I don't know how accurate it is. Of course, how accurate can a time travel movie be? But it's got a neat concept of like if you don't correct this back in the past, then your future will no longer exist, sort of thing. It's a cool story.
One of my favorite movies is a time travel movie, actually.
Bill and Ted?
See if you can guess it. No, not Bill and Ted.
Terminator.
It's pretty good, though. Not Terminator. Get one more try.
I only get one more try? Is it a popular movie?
I would say cult following.
Is it that one weird time travel movie that those two guys accidentally invent a time machine? That's a really good movie. I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's a very indie movie. But it was popular. It's not it. No, I can already tell.
No,
I'm going to look that up.
Donnie Darko.
Oh, yeah. Okay. My next guess was totally going to be The Time Traveler's Wife, because I know you're a big fan of that one.
I don't even know what that is, but okay. No, I love Donnie Darko. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Donnie Darko's cool. I guess I didn't really...
Yeah.
I guess I don't really think of it as a time travel movie, but it totally is.
Yeah.
It's too weird for me to think of it as a time travel movie for some reason.
It's weird. Yeah. Definitely.
And it's spooky too.
Oh, yeah. That rabbit and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, one more thing. I know we need to talk about this game. All right. But I'm enjoying avoiding talking about the game. So, Slapper Bags. You know what movie he was ranting and raving about, and just made me want to. He just really wanted to see it, and so I sat down and watched it with him. It's supposedly a time travel movie. Run, Lola, Run. I made it maybe 7 minutes into the movie before I passed out asleep because it was so boring. But John loved it. He just loved it.
Of course. What is it? He was like he was all raving about that Robin Williams movie, rest in peace. 24-Hour Photo. Have you ever watched that movie?
No, but I remember him ranting and raving about that one too.
Awful. I couldn't dig it. I couldn't watch it. Yeah,
I wouldn't put it in the top. I wouldn't put it in the top 10 Robin Williams movies. I don't know. I'd have to think about how many movies Robin Williams has, and then that would be the number on his. Like if he was in 28 movies, it would be number 28.
Okay. Hey, okay. So Primer is the name of that movie. It's cool. It's like an indie movie. It's about time travel. But it's really
it's a good one.
It's really good. Yeah, you should watch it if you ever get a chance to see it, Justin. I think it's really good.
I think wasn't Stimpy's invention a time travel machine too?
Probably.
I think it was. I can't remember exactly what it did, but I think it was time travel.
Probably was time travel. All right. Seriously. We're going to buckle down. We're going to talk about this game. All right. I can think of no better way to talk about the game than by opening up the manual.
Of course.
So, Stu, unless you have a copy, I'll go ahead and do the honors of talking through it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. In case anybody needs to know the story, that is in the manual, so I'll go ahead and read it. Poor Marty McFly. He's not having a very good day. First, his friend, Professor Emmett Brown, is shot by a bunch of gun-toting crazies, all because he cheated them out of a little plutonium.
Look.
I mean, come on. It's just a little plutonium. What's a little plutonium?
Plutonium is just floating around. A bunch of crazies have it, and the professor steals it from them. Not the other way around, by all means. But
technically, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so correct me if I'm wrong, Stu. They're not just crazies. Aren't they like terrorists or something that he stole them from?
Yeah, Libyan terrorists.
There you go. So, crazies, Libyan terrorists, whatever.
Yeah.
They got RPGs, AK-47s.
Yeah, it's pretty serious. That was always a weird part of the movie for me. I I don't even know why that had to be in there. I mean, I guess I don't know. That was a little bit strange.
Yeah, really, it really doesn't fit the vibe of the movie, but it's in there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why we needed to know why he got the plutonium or why he. I guess it's because of the whole him getting shot thing and the letter and everything. Anyways, spoilers for the movie from 40 years ago. But
yeah, I guess they had to just hammer home how hard it was to get plutonium, and that there's no way you'd be able to find it in 1955. Right. Even though I'm sure in 1985 it's available on every street corner.
Oh, yeah.
That's from the movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, sorry. Then Marty was just barely able to escape in the professor's new sports car turned time machine. Was the DeLorean really considered a sports car?
It was considered a sports car, but not a very good one because it was like
it weighed
steel.
Like
6 tons.
It was so heavy. Yeah.
It had like it's supposed to have like a really impressive engine, like I said, but it was slow because it was like so heavy.
Why would they make it out of steel? That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, all right, sorry. I'm not going to go off another tangent, promise.
Well, clearly it was a successful plan because, they're still around, driving around all over the place.
Not. Yeah, all right. The problem is that this time machine propelled him back to the year 1955. To make matters worse, Marty managed to interfere with George McFly and Lorraine Baines' first meeting. They are the 50s teenagers that will someday be his parents. Because of Marty, they do not meet as before, which means that they will not fall in love, get married, and raise a family. That means Marty will never be born. Ooh, scary. Marty has only one hope, and that is you, turns out. Somehow, you have to help him undo the damage he did when he first arrived in the past. You both have to make sure that history repeats itself and his parents fall in love at the big dance. Keep in mind, though, that Marty has made lots of enemies among the local bullies, so getting from place to place is going to be a real challenge, and time is definitely not on your side.
Okay, great. Got this story, and you got the story from the movie. Where is that in this game?
Well, I mean,
where is it in?
Well, I'll tell you, it's all the bullies that you've run up against, such as the girl,
the hula hoop.
Yeah, and the 2 guys carrying the invisible window,
and
the yellow jackets. Yeah. Speaking of Yellow Jackets, this game gave me total flashbacks because last Friday I stepped in the Yellow Jacket nest and got stung about 6 times. Boy. And so then I went to playing this game over the weekend. I was like, oh, really? Okay. The game has Yellow Jackets in it? Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, I'm itching and burning. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'm going to defend it a little bit. I think the game follows the movie, pretty well for a game. It starts out, Marty has to run from bullies in the street, which is in the movie. Then he's got to fight the bullies in the cafe, which is in the movie. Then he's got to, stop his mom from falling in love with him at the school, which is in the movie. So I think it kind of follows. And there are some things in there that aren't in the movie. Obviously, you got to, like you mentioned, the hula hoop girls and the, bowling balls are always brought up. There wasn't anything about, but at least those things were contextually appropriate for 1955, and they were at least trying, to put some stuff in there that, because bowling was really big after World War II, and guys came home and bowling kind of exploded in the 50s, and hula hoop was invented in the 50s, and so at least they were kind of trying. Now I don't know, the B's kind of don't really make sense, but
all right,
why those are in there?
Get out of here with your facts. Stop putting the foot down on all our jokes.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I think I kind of agree with you. Yeah, it does follow. I mean, it's loosely following the story, but that's more than a lot of licensed games can say.
Yeah.
The story is not where I have my qualms. So the object of the game is simple, according to the manual. It is based on the hit movie, and it's all about time, or the lack of it. You have to get Marty to each of 4 buildings in Hill Valley: the cafe, the school, the dance hall, and the town courthouse, in order to get his parents together, and you must do it before the photo of his family in the future fades away. That's the gist. I'm not going to keep reading it, but that's the gist of the game. Now, the way I kind of saw it, it kind of felt to me like each of the 4 buildings were kind of like bosses of sorts, because the gameplay kind of changes and whatnot. So I kind of felt like boss battles.
Yeah, I always think of it as it has 4 worlds with a boss in each of the 4 worlds, and then 4 levels in each world. So, it's got the 16 street levels, and then, the 4 bosses. And, I've always kind of thought of it that way, too. I think the manual might, or some people call them mini games, the bosses, but that's the way I always thought of it, too.
Yeah, mini games before mini games were a major thing, right? They weren't that big back in the day, except for maybe bonus stages or something like that. So I kind of feel like it's more like boss battles to me. That's what kind of it feels like. And another thing that kind of hammers that home is, so perfect example. So the first 4 street levels, you beat those, and then you move on to arguably the worst version of Tapper I've ever played. And if you lose at this game of Tapper, then you have to go back to the previous street level and beat it again before you can try again. So it's like, that's kind of how a boss feels like. Sometimes you lose at the boss, you don't always start back at the boss. Sometimes you have to go back through the level.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And the game is approachable. It's you pick it up, and usually the first time someone plays it, they can probably get through that first level, in their first game, and then maybe the first sitting they play it, they can get to that first boss in the cafe. Now it's that first time you play it, it's pretty hard throwing those shakes at the bullies, and especially if you don't know that the B button is a super shake, which will kill all the enemies on the screen at once, and you only have one of them, and and the waitress will bring you another one about every 30 bullies or so, and you don't want to shoot her because then she'll just turn around and she won't bring you another super shake. But getting through that first boss took a lot of playing over and over to kind of get that figured out and get past it. That was a hard that's a hard part of the game for a new person picking it up.
Yeah, I think,
and then it just gets harder from there.
I kind of alluded to it in my story about the game, but I think what frustrates me the most about that cafe battle or whatever is just the fact that so you can go up and down, move up and down, and each one, if you just tap the D-pad, he'll move into the correct position for the bully, which is fine as long as they're coming adjacent to each other. But a second you have to go across the counter all the way to the other end or something and knock off a bully, I could never line it up. And so I started to get the hang of it, and I did actually beat it one time. And the way I did it was just to kind of count the number of bullies in the row and know how many times I had to tap the D-pad to get to the correct spot. But that's kind of frustrating to me to have to do that. But like I said, it is a game of Tapper. Like if anybody's familiar with Root Beer Tapper or Tapper, it's basically Tapper where you have to bounce back and forth between the bullies and throw shakes at them instead of root beer. But in the instance of this game versus Tapper, there's a table or a counter that you can slide the root beer down. In this game, it's just a wide open space. So I had trouble lining it up. You probably got some good tips for that, though.
Wait, those middle, when they're in the middle, like a middle row, it's really hard to figure out which one they're on, and I don't really have any tips for it other than I've just played it 1,000 times, so I kind of have a good feel for it. I just know which line they're on and kind of know where to go, but I don't think there's. I mean, you could maybe put like a ruler on the screen or something, tape it to the screen to try to, because it's, if they're at the top or bottom, it's easy, but if they're somewhere in between, it's hard to get it lined up.
Just draw lines on the screen. Yeah. Well, okay. So then no real tips.
Yeah, get a dry erase marker.
Yeah. So maybe you can give me some other kind of insight into this, though, because I know Justin can. But so
what's that supposed to mean?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gone. Okay.
No. That's the beauty of the AirPods. I can go get me some more water and still be in the conversation.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, I like it. We got to do these AirPods more often.
Right.
So the game. Okay, so the game says it's all about time or the lack thereof, and you have to beat these levels or whatever before your family flies away or fades away. That's all well and good. I get it, but so there's this game has. I know it's all about time, but it has how many different timers? There's a family timer. There's a timer. You're collecting time. When you collect time, does that do anything other than give you bonus points at the end, or?
You get a life for 100. Right?
Okay. But you also don't lose life when you lose the level necessarily. So sometimes you don't always lose your life. Sometimes you lose your life. It's all very confusing to me.
So it is all about time. That's the really cool thing about this game is it's not like a platformer where you take damage or you can fall into a hole and die or anything like that. It's strictly time. You got to get to the end of the level with enough time. So things slow you down along the way. If you walk into a park bench or walk into a trash can or get hit by a bully, it's just going to slow you down. So it's all about time and getting to the end of the level before the time runs out. In addition to that, you have to collect the clock to keep your picture, to give you more time for your picture of your brother and sister. So the clocks keep your brother and sister picture from fading. So you have to get enough clocks along the way. And then they also give you points, which that's another thing about this game is it has points actually matter. Which I always hated games growing up that points didn't mean anything. Like Super Mario Brothers, points are pretty meaningless other than just bragging rights. But in this game, every 30,000 points gives you an extra life. So that could be what I don't know if that could be the what you were experiencing, Michael, when you mentioned that sometimes you lose a life and sometimes maybe you'd gotten an extra life there along the way and didn't realize it when you hit 30,000. But that because points are so important in this game, because you can get extra lives, there's actually worth something. Even if you don't need all the clocks, it's good to collect as many clocks as you can, shoot as many bees as you can with the bowling ball, and get if you jump at the end of the level, you can get up to 900 points just for jumping when you reach the end of the level.
A bit overkill, though, with hitting the bees with the bowling ball, though, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but
it's a bit excessive.
They had to put something in there. And it's good to shoot. You get points for shooting the bullies or shooting the hula hoop girls, which, but it's more important to shoot those guys before they kill you, because they throw like, I don't know, these little blue things at you. I never really knew what they were, but I kind of figure they're marbles. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Hula hoop girls and the bullies will throw like blue marbles at you. So you kind of want to shoot them just so they don't hurt you later on, more than just getting the points for them. But that was one of the things that kind of, because again, this is a game where points matter, which I Kung Fu was that way, but not many games. I mean, it seems like that would have been something they should have. I like that mechanic in a game when the points give you an extra life. But so I was always trying to get more points, figuring out ways I could get more points, and that was how I kind of stumbled upon getting the world record high score. Was I played this game so much because I love it so much. I got to a point where I could beat it without losing a life. I could 7 or 8 lives by the time I get to the end of the game, and it kind of lost the fun for a little bit, just because I played it so much because I liked it, but then it kind of got too easy. So I needed a kind of another challenge, and saw that the high score was around on recordsetter.com, had the high score of about 190,000, something like that. So I was like, I can beat that, and ended up getting like 290 something thousand. So I beat it by like 100,000.
Yeah. We totally forgot to mention that, by the way. I called you an expert, but I didn't mention that you had the record.
Really are an expert.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a joke.
I don't know about that.
I wasn't joking. He really is an expert.
It's just a fortunate thing that my favorite game happens to be one of the least liked games in the world. Otherwise, there's no way I'd be able to. I wouldn't be able to get the record of a good game. It just happens that the one I like is the one that no other serious gamers play. Yeah. But that's all right. I can still say I'm a world record holder, so that's kind of fun.
That's right.
That's right.
Exactly. And we can say we had the world record holder on our podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Equally as impressive, if you ask me.
I think so.
No, that's funny. I know. I see. There's a lot of mechanics in this game that you just don't realize at first. When you pick it up, it's okay. It's almost like an endless runner, except for it ends each level. But you don't move the character, or you can, but he moves himself. It's kind of like a la Paperboy style, where you're always moving forward, but you can speed up or slow down. So it's kind of like a top-down shooter game almost too, right?
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of a combination of Paperboy and a top-down shooter. It's in that way. It's also kind of original. I mean, there's not really anything quite like it. When you move up and down, it doesn't get you a better time at the end. Because there's no advantage to try to get there faster by moving up to the top. So I always try to kind of stay in the middle of the screen so I can see, bees that fly into the screen. If you're at the top, a bee will come at you right from the top of the screen, and
sneak attack.
So you don't really. Yeah, and so you can't really change your. The only way you can get a faster time is by getting the skateboard. So the skateboard really makes the levels a lot easier because you kind of don't have to worry about time anymore. It's especially when you get into the later levels, like when you get past the school and past the dance, those street levels get pretty dang hard, where you can really only get knocked down maybe once or twice, and that's it. Or if you get knocked down more, you're not going to make it to the end unless you have the skateboard. The skateboard is kind of the thing that saves you a lot of times if you can get it. So
I did like the skateboard. The skateboard was cool. And you see, we've mentioned you get knocked down, right? It takes you to spend some time, I guess, crying on the ground for a minute. And then you get back up. So the game makes a little bit more sense once you really dig into it, that it's all about time. Your time doesn't change, like you said, unless you have the skateboard, because the screen still. It's not necessarily that Marty gets to the end faster. It's just the camera that follows Marty is always going at the same pace, and And so a good example. You said you can't think of a game off the top of your head that's like it, but I can think of a game off the top of my head that's like it. If you've ever played NES Gunsmoke, it's more shooter-like than this, but it's very similar. Where the screen is always moving, and you can move within the screen, but the screen's always kind of moving. It's well, we haven't discussed it on the show yet, but it's arguably better than Back to the Future. But it's still a similar style where it's the screen's always moving and you can move within the screen. It's definitely more shooter based.
Back to the Future, so
yeah, I would give it a shot if I were you. You may like it. Maybe your new favorite game. You may have to get the high score on that one too.
Yeah.
I wish you could get the bowling ball. You mentioned it. It's not really a shooter, but and that's, I wish you could have the bowling ball all the time instead of just part of the time. That would, I think, make it a little more fun. But
yeah. Another one just hit me. I think it was it Joe Copel that suggested we play? I think Adventures of Dino Riki. I believe that game was kind of like this one too, in that similar way where it's like I think it's like a top-down scrolling shooter type of game, but you play as a little person instead of an airplane. There's another one you can give a shot. The only difference is that those games I don't think have like the little boss mini games that this one has that breaks it up. We should talk about all of those. We talked about the cafe one quite a bit. But let's talk about some of the other ones. I think what's the second one's the school, where you basically just block the hearts from hitting you. You have a little shield and you block your mom from giving you the smooches.
Yeah,
giving mom a smooching.
So yeah, you guys probably know that. You move up and down, and she moves up and down, and you catch the hearts as they come at you. That's where I found out you could get the most points. That's kind of where I found a way to mine points, I guess.
Be careful about giving all your secrets away, by the way. If you want to hold on to that high score,
you want that record to stay there.
Well, I've got a few secrets in my back pocket that I'll hold on to, but if anyone ever breaks it, I've got some more points hidden I can get.
Right.
But
so what you're saying, you can give a better score than what you got right now.
You're just holding back, waiting on somebody else to break your record.
You know how like Usain Bolt, he kind of, once he knows he has the world record in the 100-meter, he kind of slows down the last few steps because he knows he can get more money with endorsements and stuff if he can break that record 2 or 3 times instead of just breaking it once. So,
Gotcha.
Because all the money is just rolling in.
Sorry.
Yeah, from LJN.
Yeah, but I knew you could get 100 points for every bully in the cafe, which is good. But you can only get, if you want to say replay the cafe over and over, then you have to get less than 50 bullies so that you start over. Well, that's only about 5,000 points. If you get, say, 49 bullies at 100 points apiece. But at the school, the counter counts 1 for every 2 hearts that you catch. So the way to get past the school is the same thing. You got to have at least 50 points, but that's 100 hearts, not 50. So you can get about 10,000 points at the school if you get up to 49 and then die, so that you can replay it over and over. So you can get about 10,000 points at the school, and then each street level you can get about 5,000. Depending on, you can get a little more if you get a few more B's, but that's 15,000 points you can get and lose 1 life. So you can kind of just do that cycle over and over, and every 30,000 you get a new life. So you can't go on forever, but you can go and do that loop get 49 points at the school, which is about 100 hearts, and then eventually you get to your last life and you have to actually beat it. And anyway, that's how I got the high score, was just that's where I mined my points, was at the school.
That's some genius level gaming right there. I like it.
Well, the good thing about Back to the Future is it's not really that cerebral of a game. So, it lets your mind wander and think about things when you're playing it.
That's true. I do have one question. No, go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say that is one of the things you said about this game just being an easily accessible game, or anybody can pick up and play it, and that's kind of how this game plays, right? It's almost kind of like that arcade feel where you can sit down and play it, and there's not a long story that you're following and needing to save the game and do things like that.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm getting you guys to come around to how great of a game it is.
Yeah, we really haven't been bashing this enough, have we? Okay, hold on. I'll change gears. Hold on. I'll change gears right now with a question for you, Stu. You're talking about how you can think about other, you let your mind wander while you play this game, blah blah blah. Can you do that with the sound on? Because 5 minutes in, I had to turn the sound off.
You gotta, yeah. You mean you don't like hearing that over and over again?
As a kid, I didn't realize what bad music was, or, I didn't, now I just, I turn the sound off and listen to music or a podcast or something. Yeah.
I guarantee you this may be the only time I ever say this, by the way, so write it down. But I think
hit record.
Yeah, hit record. I think at least for this one game, it might be a more enjoyable experience to listen to our podcast than the music in the game. One of the few games where that's the case.
Yeah. I'm disappointed you don't have the music playing in the background.
Oh, did you want people to listen to the podcast, or?
Well, at least here's the thing. What gets me is like when I first popped this game in, I was like, oh, that song's kind of catchy. I like it. And yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna give you a taste. Just go ahead and talk. Let's see how long this lasts.
Well, no, it's just gonna. I'm like, okay, this song's pretty good. I like this song. I had high hopes for the music for this game, and then it never changed.
Yeah, like right here, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
no, wait. Here we go. Back to this.
Yeah, it's like what, a 12-second loop or so.
It changes and gets your hopes up, like right in here somewhere, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, okay, all right, cool. Here we go. Oh, this must be the remix. Oh, this is playback.
Yeah, supposedly that's the power of love, right?
Yeah, it's the power of love.
It's, yeah.
Which I thought was going to be a quiz question, to be honest.
Yeah. I was going to throw that in the quiz question about the Johnny Be Good, the power of love was in the game, but I was like, is that the power of love? Because it doesn't really sound like the power of love. Did somebody just make that up, or?
I mean, that's as much the power of love as Johnny Be Good is in this game, though. I mean, let's be honest.
That's true. Yeah.
You can make an excuse that it was a limitation of the hardware, but I wonder if they didn't have like the full rights to the song or something, and they were like, we can't make it sound too much like the actual song, or we'll have to.
That could be true. I mean, sometimes, it is often that things like this are a limitation of hardware, especially when you spend all the resources on those gray streets that they have in this game. And,
right.
All the pink hula hoop girls and pink, all the enemy variety.
What about the oil spots?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about those. Those black oil spots. Yeah. The green park benches that are the same color as the grass.
Hey, those streets do change colors when you get past each boss. As the day goes on, and they change to yellow, then to red, then to dark gray.
Oh boy, we got gray and dark gray. I'm sorry. That's just my roundabout way of saying that I also did not enjoy the graphics of this game, not in the least. Not that it's necessarily, bad. I mean, they're not terrible. I've definitely played games with worse graphics. It's not like I'm struggling to play the game because of the graphics, which sometimes happens on the NES. I can still tell what I'm doing. My character doesn't look much like Marty, but that's okay.
What, with his black sleeveless shirt and jeans?
Although now
he looks like he should be in the movie Grease.
Exactly. Now I'm reading the manual. Let me go back because we may have uncovered something here.
Wait, what if this game was originally supposed to be a game about Grease?
There's a lot of Grease
John
on the
Travolta, Soda Shop.
Oh, like Doki Doki Panic became Super Mario Brothers 2.
Exactly. Now
they just reskinned it.
That's not what I thought we were uncovering. What I think we're uncovering here is if we go back to the story, right? Marty is the one having the issue, right? But it says Marty has only one hope, and that is you. It doesn't say you are playing as Marty. It says Marty's only hope is you. Therefore, I'm thinking this character is a separate character from Marty. He's collecting the clocks for Marty. In some of the mini games, it kind of does look like Marty. So I'm thinking Marty's off doing his thing at the soda shop and at the school. Meanwhile, you're doing all the hard work collecting clocks for him. You know, just a thought.
Possibly. Yeah, you might be onto something.
That would explain why it looks nothing like Marty.
Speaking of the clocks, you mentioned this earlier, Justin. You said something about when you get to 100 clocks, it'll reset your photograph. So if your photograph is almost out, it'll reset it back to full power. So that comes in handy in some parts of the game if you're, especially those levels that are right after the school, which I think are the hardest street levels, even harder than later in the game when you get past the dance, because those levels after the school, you still have to collect the clocks to keep the picture alive. And by the time after the dance, you don't have to worry about clocks anymore other than just getting points, because the picture, your parents have already kissed by that point, so you don't have to worry about them not having you and your siblings. But those levels after the school, you have to get practically every clock or it's your picture will fade, and that's really hard. And the AI of those bees, they know you have to go after every clock too, and their trajectory lines up just to where they know you're going to have to be to get every clock. And so I think those are the hardest street levels, is not the very last ones, but the ones right before the dance. And so when you can get that reset, that 100 clocks, those levels, it really comes in handy.
The levels right after the school are also the ones that burned my retinas the worst. The bright red. Or the red, yeah. It's rough. I think my favorite, graphically, is probably the one with like the yellow street, the yellow and gray. I think it looks pretty good. I can get behind that. But the ones right after the school, yikes.
Yeah. It feels like you're on Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're in the car, which is cool. I didn't actually make it that far, so I didn't get to experience that, but I really wanted to. It looked fun.
Yeah, I think they showed that in the commercial. Like, and I feel like I remember watching that commercial when I was a kid and thinking how cool that looked. But it's so hard to get there. You can't. I don't know how many kids got to that. I mean, I did, but that's just because I'm a little bit crazy in this and actually like this game, so I played it for hours. But I don't. They really sold. I think that's part of the reason why maybe kids, rented this like yourself and got upset, because you see them. You see the DeLorean dodging lightning bolts on TV, and then you think you get to play it, and that's really hard to get to. But
yeah, all of that just seems
it's hard too.
The concept that level is hard. You mean?
Yeah, that's the only thing I never. Yeah, I probably, I can get to that level pretty easily, but maybe only half the time probably less than half the time can I beat that final level with the DeLorean. It's really hard dodging those lightning bolts.
Yeah. And you have to, I like the concept of that level though, because you have to, before the end, you have to get up to 88 miles an hour, right? And so the lightning bolts slow you down, or you have to slow down to dodge them, that sort of thing. So it does kind of change the game up all of a sudden. I don't know. Maybe I am coming around on this game a little bit.
And you don't get any redos either if you lose to that boss. It doesn't matter how many lives you have left. If you lose at the DeLorean, the game's over and you're stuck in 1955.
I take it back. I'm going back to not liking it again. Sorry. All right. Well,
I don't know how you can even dodge those. It feels like it's just luck. You said you didn't play it, so
I didn't make it. I didn't make it that far.
The dance is pretty easy. I've always thought. I never had.
I couldn't make it. I made it past the school boss, and then the Mars levels I couldn't. I never could do it. That's about as far as I made it.
Yeah, those bees get ridiculous when there's 5 bees on the screen at once. Hey, one thing that's really cool, and I didn't think of this until a day or two ago when it just kind of popped in my head, but maybe it was when I was listening to your guys' last episode, but there's I don't remember if there's any flicker in this game, like was so common in it, Ninja Turtles or all those games that had screen flicker. I'm not sure why, but maybe because the sprites are spread out around the screen, kind of in the horizontal and the vertical direction. Whereas in a DuckTales or something, the sprites are kind of all on one latitude.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I don't remember any. As much as I played it, I can't really remember any flickering sprites or anything like that. So, not sure how they pulled that off, because there's a lot of moving things sometimes in this game.
Yeah, I think you got a pretty good theory there as to why. Because I'm pretty sure now. I'm not an expert at NES hardware by any means, but I'm pretty sure a lot of that flicker happens when, like you said, there's a line across the screen with too many different sprites taking up that space, and so some of them have to duck out to make room for the others.
Yeah.
And so since this game has characters coming, they're like all over the screen instead of in a similar line, then it's probably a pretty good reason why. But I agree, I didn't see a lot of flicker.
Mm-hmm. So I think we all agree then it's the best game of all time. I'm glad I'm getting you to come around on this.
All right, let's come around. Let's start wrapping it up, and we'll just discuss it. So let's do a little wrap up here. Best way to wrap it up for me is with a price. Justin, do you have the price for this game?
Yeah, so the loose price for this game is $8.25 on average per price charting.
Okay. All right. I feel like I don't even have to ask you, Stu, but I'll ask you anyways. Is that worth it?
Oh, yeah, definitely worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I would pay, I don't know, $75 for this game.
Yeah. Well, this is priceless to you. So
$75, huh?
That's ridiculous. $75 is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. It is ridiculous.
But I'm sure there's games that I would pay way more for that have nostalgia for me than most people would pay. So
But Stu did. He was basically playing the new version of this game that we talked about, which is how much would you pay for this game?
That's right. He did. He
makes it more interesting.
He just played it. We can play it too, Justin. All right. I will say. So this game. When I was a kid, I hated this game, and it was because I did not understand it. I could not understand how the death works, the time, and all that stuff. None of it made sense to me. I could never figure it out, so I never really played it. Now, playing it in this age, I'm still not a big fan, but I don't think that it deserves all the hate that it's getting from people in the world.
I agree.
I think there's a lot. Some of it's Angry Video Game Nerd did a video on it, so everybody jumps on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
They do that. But this game is not.
I would say
it's not a bad. It's not a bad game. It's not a good game, but it's not a terrible game. It's enjoyable. It's easy to pick up, and it's not really complicated to figure out. It's tough and it's frustrating at times, especially when things don't line up like you would expect them to, which happens pretty often in the cafe or even in the street. A lot of times you'll fall down before you actually hit things. And so those sorts of things are frustrating. But all in all, I think $8.25, I would probably pay that for this game. How much more would I pay? Probably not much more. I think it falls into that category of maybe I go up to 10, but it would depend on what other games are still out there around its price range, because there's a lot of better games that I could probably pick up, in my opinion, than Back to the Future. But I think the loose price for this is actually pretty reasonable. I think you could get $8.25 worth of enjoyment out of this game. So I'm saying I would buy it. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I would also add to what you were saying about people jumping on with the angry video game nerd, and everybody jumps on that bandwagon. But also, the LJN bandwagon of every game that they make has to suck, and every game we have to make fun of it. So, right. Which they do. They've made plenty of terrible games, don't get me wrong. But this, if you compare, the terribleness of, Friday the 13th, for example, that we've played before, this game's way better than that. But,
definitely a lot easier to pick up and play the first time.
Yeah. So I would say definitely worth $8.25. I would maybe go up to 12, but not much. So not much more. 12, okay, yeah, 12. A little dozen, maybe baker's dozen if I'm feeling froggy. A little 13.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you're sure.
This is a binding contract, so.
Yep. You can't, no take backs.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good to me. All right. Let's, I think we should give this game some trophies.
You know what this game needs? Some retrofitted trophies.
All right. I've got a couple. I don't know about you guys, Stu. You've listened to the podcast, but I maybe not forgot to mention to you that we do this, but maybe you got some anyways.
Yeah, I've got a few.
Okay, cool. I'll start us off then. My first one is roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And that is jump into the grass from the road and die. Which I don't even think you can do. I think you, as you try to jump over the barrier, I think you get stopped. So I don't even think you can do it, but still, try to do it.
Yeah, that's a good one. That leads into one I had, which is wheels. Where we're going, we don't need wheels, and that's play the whole game without a skateboard.
Ah, okay, I like that.
I've got one called The Nick of Time, and that is get the 100th clock right before you disappear from the kind of picture.
It's a good one.
All right, I've got one that says, "Are you telling me my mother has got the hots for me?" And that is beat the school level.
Nice.
I've got. So you know how you have to get at least 50, either bullies to beat the cafe, or 50 points in the school to beat. So I've got one called Sneak and a Peek, and that's where you look up to see if you have 50 and you lose because you weren't paying attention.
Oh no! Got any more, Justin?
Nope, I don't have any more.
I don't have any more good ones, so I think I'll stop there.
I've got a long list, but I won't go through them all. Other than I'll just give you one more because we never talked about this part of the game. So this award is called a perfect 300, and that's to get all the bowling pins in each level.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. There's bowling pins that I guess you have to hit them with a bowling ball, right? That would make the most sense.
Yeah,
I never did that. I ran into them with my skateboard a few times, but yeah, that's good. That's good.
They're worth 500 points, so they're valuable when you're trying to mine points. So,
can we talk about how Marty or whoever you're playing as, when he dies, how he throws a little temper tantrum, throws He's like throwing his hands, like hitting the ground.
Yeah, I said that. I said it looked like he was crying every time he got knocked down.
Yeah,
that is funny. He spazzes out for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Are we good? We got all that. You got any more? I know you got more. Any more favorites you want to spit out, Stu? Or are we good?
No, those were all the good ones.
Okay, cool. I think we got some good ones. Sometimes it's best. I had a couple more too, but sometimes it's best when you're on a roll and you got some good ones coming out to just let the bad ones stay on the page. You know.
Yeah.
I have a history of going ahead and reading the bad ones too, and so I'm trying to break that habit.
Yeah, like when you're like a director, when they edit a movie and they cut out more scenes, it ends up always being a better movie.
Usually, yeah. All right, let's give this game a rating.
No game is worthy until the dudes have spoken. It's time for the game rating.
All right, Justin, how do you think we should rate this one? I think you should decide, because you've not seen the movie in forever, and you probably, no offense, but I'm guessing you probably made it. You didn't make it. You're probably third on the list of who made it the furthest in this game.
Probably, yeah. Let's say. Wait, no, I was getting close to Stu's world record. What are you talking about? Let's say type of. How about type of tennis shoe?
Tennis shoe. Okay. All right.
Because in the movie, he does have like the Marty McFly shoes.
That's right. Yeah. He's got fancy tennis shoes. But they're white high tops. But
yeah.
in the second movie, there's some really cool tennis shoes. Have you seen any of them, Justin? Have you seen? I know you've seen the first one, but it's been a while. Have you watched 2 or 3?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they're all pretty good, actually. I like all of them. All right, so type of tennis shoe.
Yeah. How about
I'm gonna go with K-Swiss. Just some white K-Swiss. Because not pretty to look at. Probably not even really that great of a shoe, but not bad. I mean, it's not like you're putting on the Walmart, whatever the Walmart brand is. I don't even know. I'm sure they have a brand. Walmart Basics. The Shaq shoes. Yeah. So, kind of middle of the road. I used to wear K-Swiss all the time, by the way, so I'm not knocking them. I like them. The only reason I stopped wearing K-Swiss is because my wife said I looked like I can't even remember what she called me, but it was something that I didn't want to be. So they're just kind of bland, they're just white. They come in different styles. They're very comfortable. Wait, am I still talking about the game, or am I talking about the shoes? Yeah, shoes. The game's kind of bland. It's not great. Not terrible. And people give it a worse rap than it really deserves. People make fun of K-Swiss all the time, but they're pretty good shoes. All right.
I'm going to go with the Chuck Taylor Converses because they're a classic, and this is more of a classic style game. They're not like super supportive, so you're not going to get it's not the best you're going to get, right? So if you're going to go play basketball from Chuck Taylor's, you're probably going to roll an ankle.
Possibly.
And this game is just it's a classic to appreciate. It's not the best, but it is what, it can be appreciated for what it is.
Okay. Hey, my brother swears by Chuck Taylor's, by the way, for weightlifting. Apparently it's the best shoe. So at least there's one application.
Yes, he's still a soy boy, though?
Actually, no. Long story I can tell you off the podcast.
Switched over? Okay.
Very recently, but there's a lot more reasonings that I'm not going to get into on the podcast. But I'll tell you after the show.
Okay. All right.
What do you think, Stu? What type of tennis shoe?
I'll go with those shoes from Super Mario Brothers, the movie, that Mario and Luigi wear and can make them jump really high.
Okay.
Because that's a That's a movie that's often disliked and made fun of. But those shoes would be really cool to have in real life. So probably the best shoes anyone could have. And this is the best game anyone could have. So I'll go with those.
Nice. I was embarrassingly obsessed with that movie when I was a kid. I just loved it. In hindsight, it is a terrible movie, but I loved it as a kid for whatever reason. Which, you mentioned going to seeing a movie. You saw Back to the Future in theaters, right? You guys remember, back then, if a movie came out in theaters, you had to wait 3 or 4 years before you could watch it on video, So I can remember movies coming out. It felt like 3 or 4 years. I don't know if it was actually 3 or 4 years, but that's what it felt like. But I can remember movies coming out in the theater and thinking, man, I want to see that. Guess I'll wait a few years until it comes out on video and probably forget about it.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reason they played longer in the theaters too, because people would say, well, it's going to be a long time before I'll get to see this again. I better go see it, watch it again. And so you'd go see it more than once. But now it's going to be coming around pretty soon. So
now you watch it before at the same time. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I remember movies getting re-released. Like they would go through like their initial release, and then they kind of go through, and then instead of going to video, like they would just get reran. I think they did that with The Lion King.
Yep, I remember that. Okay.
All right.
You guys want to do some feedback? I bet we don't have much, but let's do it anyways.
We don't.
It's time. It's time for D-Patter feedback, because when you're a D-Patter, you're a D-Patter for life.
Hey, I just realized you could do a really good remix with the No Swear Gamer here.
It's time. It's time. It's time.
Sorry. That's bad. I should edit that out. I won't, but I should.
You won't, but you should. Right. All right, you ready? So we've got on Facebook, Josh Diekman says, this game is kind of bad, but sort of in a fun way, if that makes sense. It's like they tried to do something unique and interesting, but couldn't quite get there. But it has a certain charm in all of its badness. And Aaron Hickman says, it really does fit the term couchage. What's so good, it's bad.
I don't know about that, Aaron.
And
I don't think I like that.
Yeah.
Whatever you just said.
I don't know I don't know where he's going with that. But that's it on the Facebook.
Okay. Well, we've got a few voicemails.
Let's hear it. I'm excited.
This first one's really confusing to me, but I'll play it anyways.
This is probably going to be like one of the most infamous sound bites you'll ever have from Nick Stevens, but this is probably one of my favorite games of all time. Like, probably top 10.
Top 10 from Nick Stevens. Yeah. Wow. All right. I guess Nick Stevens and Stu, you guys could be besties. It sounds like you got, you're both in love with this game. I guarantee you Nick can't beat your high score, though. He's terrible at video games.
That's true.
All right. We got a couple more voicemails.
Great Scott, Marty! If my calculations are correct, I've sent an NES game back to the future, the year 2021, to a guy named JZNES. He has to get it to the two dudes at a NES to warn them not to play this game. But the dire circumstances of it is, they have to play the game, otherwise our timeline will crumble as we know it. Wait, Doc, are you telling me you built a time machine out of an NES? Well, the way I see it, if you're going to send stuff back to the future, you gotta do it with some style. Whoa, Doc, this is heavy.
Okay. All right. Hey, how funny would it be?
All right.
Hey, okay, alternate universe. This is the worst movie ever, and I can't even believe I'm going to say this. I would only say it because near the end of the podcast, everybody stopped listening. But can you imagine a movie, Back to the Future, a version of Back to the Future where instead of getting his parents back together and Marty having to avoid his mom, he had to
All right, that's enough.
All right.
That's enough out of you.
Yeah. It's late. All right. My mind goes to weird places. Let's go to another voicemail. By the way, truncate silence. If I do that edit in the podcast, it's going to make that part really weird. So,
What's up, guys? This is JZNES. Apparently, I got the game Back to the Future from the past or something. Somehow it came to me into my NES through time travel, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, Back to the Future on the NES. Not a great game, but I kind of like it in a so bad it's good kind of way. Maybe, I don't know. It's like one of these games where I sat down for a long time and like tried to beat for some reason. I don't remember why I did this. Really, it was because I had this whole goal to beat 100 NES games so that I could buy like some of the more expensive NES games like Flintstones and Little Samson. Was kind of a goal I set for myself, was to beat all these games. And everyone's like, oh, Back to the Future, it's not even that long. But man, was that not one of the hardest games I ever had to sit through and spend, just like months trying, on and off just trying to beat that game. But I finally did it at one point. Really, really tough game. That's the definition of Nintendo hard right there. But yeah, so I did beat it. I mean, I like aspects of it. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is, but it's still not a great NES game. I know everyone complains about the music too, but if you look into it, it's actually supposed to be The Power of Love or whatever. And there's a slowed down version actually on YouTube that shows that it's supposed to be The Power of Love. And it's like, once you hear that, it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. But yeah, it's still a pretty bad game overall. It's not very great. But I don't know. There's things I like about the game that kind of makes me so conflicted on it. But, at the end of the day, yeah, I still think it's probably a pretty bad game. But, it's cheap, whatever. Like, somebody might get some enjoyment out of it. But, good old LJN can't make any good games for the most part, or publish any good games, I guess that is. But anyways, I'm sure you guys will have hated the game or whatnot, but we'll anxious to hear your thoughts on that. So until next time, JZNES Day, keep it classic, stick around, and I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.
thank you, Jay-Z. So it sounds like from the feedback that the consensus is this is not really a very hated game. It sounds like most people kind of like it. They feel bad about liking it, and they want to hate it, but and I kind of feel the same way. Like, I want to hate it, I just don't. It feels like a bad game, but I just kind of like it in a way. It's just it's weird. It's hard to describe the feelings that I have for this game.
Yeah, but, like you said, they pile on that LGN and that rainbow.
It's a bias.
I'm gonna have to check out that slowed down version of the slowed down version on YouTube. I need to see that.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out too. I was trying to think if I could put it in the podcast, but I can't, and I'm not going to try. It's too late. All right. So,
all right. You don't want Huey Lewis coming after you.
That's true. It's true. Of all people in the world, Huey is definitely on the top of my list of people I want to avoid.
Right.
So, and then if he gets the news after me, yikes.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the news too.
All right, Justin.
All right.
How can they find us?
Well, the main place you can find us is join the conversation over on Facebook at the Bit Brothers Gaming Community. Lots of discussion goes on there, lots of posts, so that's where we get all of our feedback. Or the majority of our feedback. And then, of course, like Jay-Z, you could always call us at
775-7-RETRO-1 or 775-773-8761. And we've got a website.
All right, Stu, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Sorry, Mike, I interrupted your...
That's okay. Nobody goes to the website, so
shut up.
No big deal. I will say one more thing.
Just forget.
One more thing. Something you should not forget about, everybody. If you want to support us and and sign up for some bonus content that sometimes you get, sometimes you don't, but mainly it's just about supporting the podcast. You can go to patreon.com/BitBros, and you can support us there. Patreon.com/BitBros, and that helps support the podcast, keeps the boat afloat. And we do our best with those rewards, but by golly, they're hard. That's tough, man. I don't know. We're trying. I promise everybody will eventually, at one point in somebody's lifetime, whether it's my lifetime or Justin's lifetime or Nick or Aaron's lifetime, somebody's lifetime. I don't know who's going to live the longest. We'll see. But somebody will get you your rewards. Promise. All right? So eventually. I don't know. I feel real bad about it. But ultimately, just remember, it's supporting the podcast. It's not about the tangible goods, right?
It's not about the rewards.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Thanks, everybody. And Stu, I think I asked you before we started, but if there's anything you want to shout out, if you got any businesses, things like that, feel free to shout them out.
Not really. I mean, I've got my Twitter is Hump Day Hoopla, so I don't post Thursday through Tuesdays, but all other days I post.
So Wednesday?
Yeah, just Wednesday.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks for coming on. Thanks everybody for listening, and here comes the music for the next game. Bye.